American woman detained in Paris after newborn thrown from hotel window. A horrifying tragedy unfolded in Paris on Monday when a newborn baby was thrown from a hotel window in the 20th arrondissement. Authorities quickly detained an American woman in connection with the incident, as investigators scramble to piece together the chilling sequence of events that led to this unspeakable act. In the early hours of the morning, emergency responders rushed to the hotel after receiving reports of a baby found on the pavement below. Witnesses stood in stunned horror as paramedics desperately attempted to save the infant's life, but their efforts were in vain. The newborn succumbed to fatal injuries, leaving behind a scene of indescribable sorrow and horror. According to investigators, the infant suffered severe trauma upon impact, a fall from several stories high. The body was found wrapped in a blood-stained towel, raising questions about whether the act was premeditated or carried out in a moment of overwhelming psychological distress. The authorities have yet to disclose whether the baby was alive at the time it was thrown away, or if the mother gave birth under dire circumstances. What is clear is that the case has ignited a firestorm of speculation, horror, and pressing questions about the state of mind of the woman at the center of this tragedy. As details emerge, investigators are considering the possibility of pregnancy denial, a psychological condition where a woman either does not recognize or refuses to accept that she is pregnant. This phenomenon, though rare, has been linked to shocking incidents where newborns are harmed or abandoned in moments of psychological distress. The detained woman has now been identified as 28-year-old Emily Carter, a U.S. citizen originally from Ohio. She had arrived in Paris just a few days prior, checking into the hotel alone, with no known connections in the city. Emily, described by acquaintances as quiet and reserved, worked as a freelance writer and often traveled for work. Friends and former colleagues back in the U.S. are struggling to understand how she could be involved in such a shocking act. Some recall that she had spoken about struggles with depression in the past, while others remember her as highly independent but prone to long periods of isolation. Emily was found in her hotel room in what authorities described as a dazed and fragile state. Blood was discovered in the bathroom, indicating she may have given birth alone, in secret, and without medical assistance. Witnesses at the hotel reported no sounds of a baby crying, nor any prior indications that she was pregnant. Staff members described her as reserved, avoiding interactions, and keeping to herself. She was immediately taken to a hospital, where she remains under medical supervision while also being held in police custody. Officials are proceeding with caution, mindful of the mental and emotional state of the suspect. Is this a case of psychosis, desperation, or something even darker lurking beneath the surface? The woman was immediately taken to a hospital, where she remains under medical supervision while also being held in police custody. Officials are proceeding with caution, mindful of the mental and emotional state of the suspect. Is this a case of psychosis, desperation, or something even darker lurking beneath the surface? Friends, family members, and co-workers of Emily are struggling to process the horrific news. Some describe her as a quiet but intelligent woman, while others recall signs of emotional distress that they had overlooked. Those close to her recall a history of anxiety and past struggles with depression. Was she suffering in silence, unable to ask for help? Did she feel trapped by the weight of an unwanted pregnancy? Authorities are investigating whether Emily had previously sought psychological assistance and if any warning signs were missed. If this is indeed a case of pregnancy denial, her mind may have been operating under a profound dissociation, blocking out the reality of her condition until the moment of birth. In such cases, the shock can send a mother into a panicked, altered state of consciousness, resulting in irrational and extreme actions. The most gut-wrenching question remains, what happened between the birth and the fatal fall? Did she hold the baby in her arms, even for a fleeting moment, before making the unthinkable choice? Was the act of throwing the infant out of the window a desperate attempt to erase reality, or did she truly not comprehend what she was doing? Autopsy reports will determine whether the baby was born alive or stillborn, which could have major implications for the case. If the infant had already perished due to complications from an unattended birth, the mother could face lesser charges related to neglect rather than intentional homicide. However, if the baby was alive, the severity of the crime takes on an even more harrowing nature, leading to potentially severe legal consequences. Authorities are meticulously reconstructing the timeline leading up to the tragedy. The hotel, now a crime scene, is being scrutinized for any evidence, bloodstains, discarded medical waste, or any sign of struggle. Investigators are also interviewing staff and guests, searching for clues about the woman's behavior in the hours leading up to the infant's death. What was her state of mind? Did she check in alone? Did anyone hear cries of labor or signs of distress before the unimaginable happened? The answers to these questions may determine the legal fate of the woman now at the center of this harrowing case. As Paris reels from this grim event, legal experts debate the potential charges that the woman could face: infanticide, homicide, or a crime of passion driven by psychological distress. France's legal system has a complex approach to cases involving mental health crises, and it remains to be seen whether the court will treat this as an act of intentional violence or a tragic consequence of untreated psychological turmoil. The outcome of this case depends heavily on psychiatric evaluations and the findings of the autopsy. If the mother is deemed to have been in a dissociative or psychotic state at the time of the incident, she may be placed in a psychiatric facility rather than prison. However, if prosecutors argue premeditation or negligence, she could face serious criminal charges, including manslaughter or murder. For now, she remains under strict surveillance in the hospital, both as a patient and as a suspect. The world watches as investigators work tirelessly to uncover the full truth behind this chilling act. The woman's family has been thrown into turmoil, struggling to reconcile the person they knew with the horrific crime now associated with her name. Some relatives have spoken of their devastation, expressing disbelief that she was capable of such an act. Others have asked for privacy, unwilling to speak on the matter as they come to terms with the shocking reality. Co-workers and acquaintances recall a woman who largely kept to herself. Some noted that she had become more withdrawn in recent months, but few would have imagined she was concealing such a grave secret. Was there anyone she could have turned to? Could this tragedy have been prevented if she had been able to seek help before reaching such a breaking point? This case is more than just a crime. It is a grim reflection of hidden mental health struggles, the fragility of the human psyche, and the desperate need for awareness surrounding pregnancy-related disorders. As the investigation continues, one thing remains painfully clear: a newborn life was lost in a moment of incomprehensible darkness, and the echoes of that tragedy will haunt all who bear witness to it. I hope you found the details of this story as fascinating and unsettling as I did. You, mysterious, curious, intellectual, disturbed, beautiful people. My name is Penny Flick, with Kreep-ish. I look forward to sharing more of these stories that captivate and intrigue our minds, which can challenge our way of thinking. Comment on your thoughts below as I continue to uncover the mysteries of our history, true crime, paranormal, conspiracy, and cringe-worthy, creepy content. Until then, keep questioning, keep exploring, and remember that the truth is often stranger than fiction.